Economy State Finances 2022-23 Report. News: The Comptroller and Auditor General, CAG, has recently released a first-of-its-kind report providing a detailed analysis of fiscal parameters for all 28 Indian states over the decade 2013-14 to 2022-23. Key highlights. Public debt growth. Over the 10-year period, the combined public debt of all 28 states tripled, rising from 17.57 Indian rupees lakh crore in 2013-14 to 59.60 Indian rupees lakh crore in 2022-23. Debt to GDP ratio. In 2022-23, states' total debt accounted for 22.17% of India's GDP. The Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management (FRBM) Act, 2003, sets a target for state debt at 20% of GDP by 2024-25. Highest debt ratios. Punjab recorded the highest debt to GSDP ratio at 40.35%, 37.15%, 33.7%, followed by Nagaland and West Bengal. Fiscal deficit. 0.76% of all 28 states were ranging from GSDP in Gujarat to 6.46% in Himachal Pradesh. The FRBM Act benchmark for 2022-23 was a fiscal deficit of 3.5% of GSDP. Revenue capacity variations. There are wide disparities in states' revenue mobilization. For instance, states' own tax revenue, SODR, accounted for 70% in Haryana, but was as low as 9% in Arunachal Pradesh. Reasons behind high public debt. Rising subsidy burden. Many states face high fiscal pressure due to farm loan waivers, free or subsidized services, such as electricity for agriculture and households, and cash transfers to farmers, women, and youth. High committed expenditures. Expenses such as interest payments, salaries, and wages remain significant. Between 2013-14 and 2022-23, committed expenditures consistently exceeded 42% of revenue expenditure and 6% of GSDP, except in 2013-14 and 2016-17. Limited revenue mobilization. Dependence on goods and services tax, GST, revenues, and other restricted sources limit states' capacity to generate funds independently. Goods and services tax, GST, 2.0 News. The 56th GST Council has recommended changes in GST tax rates on goods and services, effective from September 22, 2025. Key tax reforms under GST 2.0. 1. Simplified GST structure replaces four slabs, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, with two main rates. 5% for essential goods, merit rate. 18% for most other goods and services, standard rate. 40% demerit rate for luxury, sin, and harmful goods, e.g., tobacco, pan masala. 2. Tax relief for essential goods. Life and health insurance, fully exempt from GST. Essentials like UHT milk, paneer, rotis, and parathas, 0% GST. 3. Consumer goods, small cars, TVs, ACs, cement, and auto parts, 28%, 18% GST. Renewable energy devices, 12%, 5% GST. Aim: boost manufacturing, promote green energy, and increase domestic demand for medical and health devices. 33. Life-saving drugs, 12%, 0% GST. Critical drugs for cancer and rare diseases, 5%, 0% GST. Goal: improve healthcare access. 5. Support for agriculture and rural sectors. Machinery, tractors, harvesters, composters, 12%, 5% GST. Fertilizer inputs, sulfuric acid, nitric acid, ammonia, 18%, 5% GST. Labor-intensive goods, handicrafts, marble, leather, 12%, 5% GST. 6. Trade facilitation and dispute resolution. GST Appellate Tribunal, GSTAT, operational by December 2025. Reforms in refunds and registration to reduce litigation and improve predictability, especially for MSMEs. About goods and services tax, GST. GST is a broad-based indirect tax applied to the supply of goods and services throughout India. It was introduced via the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, 2017. It works as a value-added tax, VAT, simplifying the tax system by replacing the multiple indirect taxes that were previously levied by both the center and the states. Key features. Dual GST structure. Central GST, CGST, and state GST, SGST, for intrastate transactions. Integrated GST, IGST, for interstate transactions. GST Council. Main body for GST policymaking and rate decisions. Established under Article 279A of the Constitution. Composition. Chaired by the Union Finance Minister, includes Union Minister of State, Revenue/Finance, State and Finance Ministers or their nominees. India's per capita income. News. India's per capita net national income, NNI, increased to Indian rupee 1,14,710 in 2024-25, up from 72,805 Indian rupees in 2014-15, recording a rise of 41,905 Indian rupees over the decade. According to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, MLSPI. Per capita net national income, NNI. Definition: the average income of a country's residents, calculated by dividing the net national income, NNI, by the total population. Calculation: NNI is the gross national income, GNI, minus depreciation, consumption of fixed capital. Purpose: indicates how much income each person would receive if the country's total net income were distributed equally. National trend: consistent rise in per capita income. Period. FI 2014 to 15 to FI 2024 to 25 growth. 57% increase in real terms key drivers. Growth in services, manufacturing, and public investment. State-level per capita net state domestic product, NSDP, definition. The net state domestic product per person, adjusted for inflation to reflect real economic growth. NSDP represents the total value of goods and services produced within a state's borders during a specific period, after accounting for depreciation. The current base year for calculating per capita income as per NSDP in India is 2011 to 12. Top 5 states/UTs by per capita NSDP, 2023 to 24 at constant prices rank state/UT per capita NSDP, Indian rupee. Percent change, 2013 to 14 to 2023 to 24, 1 Goa 3, 57, 611 plus 89.9% 2 Sikkim 2, 92, 339 plus 73.1% 3 Delhi 2, 71, 490 plus 35.3% 4 Chandigarh 2, 56, 912 plus 42.2% 5 Karnataka 1, 91, 970 plus 88.5% key observations. Southern states leading, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Telangana have shown significant growth due to IT services, manufacturing hubs, and export-driven sectors. Western contribution, Maharashtra benefits from industrial corridors and financial services. Emerging performers, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh show high decade growth due to industrial projects and agricultural reforms. Structural challenges and laggards, states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and Assam lag due to low industrialization, high population pressures, and weak infrastructure. Ways and Means Advances, WMA. News, the RBI has fixed the Ways and Means Advance, WMA, limit for the central government for the second half of FI 2025 to 26. The WMA limit is decided by the RBI in consultation with the central government. In addition to WMA, states and union territories use the Special Drawing Facility, SDF, and Overdraft, OD, as key financial support tools. These are regulated under the RBI Act, 1934. About Ways and Means Advances, WMA, definition. RBI central and state short-term loans provided by the governments to manage temporary mismatches between receipts and expenditures. Introduced, April 1, 1997 repayment. Loans must be repaid within 90 days. Interest is charged at the repo rate. Overdrafts, 90 days overdraft. If borrowing exceeds, it is treated as in with interest 2% higher than the repo rate. Types of WMA, normal WMA, borrowing within a fixed limit at the repo rate. Special WMA/Special Drawing Facility, SDF, allows extra borrowing beyond the normal WMA, secured by government securities held by the state. States or union territories first use Special WMA, then normal WMA. Once exhausted, interest on Special WMA/SDF is lower than normal WMA. About Special Drawing Facility, SDF. Utilized by the state against collateral such as the Consolidated Sinking Fund, CSF, Guarantee Redemption Fund, GRF, and Auction Treasury Bills, ATBs, among others. CSF, GRF, RBI. And are reserve funds that certain states maintain with about overdraft facility. This facility is offered when a state's financial support exceeds its SDF and WMA limits. Typically, state governments and union territories can use the overdraft for up to 21 consecutive days, with possible extensions granted by the RBI. Banking Laws Amendment, ACT, 2025 News. The key provisions of the Banking Laws Amendment Act, 2025, have came into effect from August 1, 2025. The Banking Laws Amendment Act, 2025 was enacted to update and reinforce the legal, regulatory, and governance framework of India's banking system. Scope of amendments. The Act brings 19 amendments spread across 5 major banking legislations: Reserve Bank of India Act, 1934 Banking Regulation Act, 1949 State Bank of India Act, 1955. Banking Companies, Acquisition and Transfer of Undertakings Act, 1970 and 1980 Key Provisions and Reforms 1. Revised definition of substantial interest. The limit for defining substantial interest has been raised from 5 Indian rupees lakh to 2 Indian rupees crore, unchanged since 1968. Substantial interest means a director's or officer's large financial stake in a company, which could lead to conflicts of interest. It is calculated based on the paid-up share capital held by them or their relatives. 2. Reforms in cooperative banks director tenure, excluding chairperson and whole-time directors. Increased from 8 years to 10 years. This aligns with the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act, 2011, which gave citizens the right to form cooperative societies under Article 19(1), ensuring better governance continuity. 3. Investor protection and fund transparency. Public sector banks, PSBs, can now transfer unclaimed shares, interests, and bonds to the Investor Education and Protection Fund, IEPF. This aligns with the Companies Act, 2013 and promotes transparency and investor/depositor awareness. 4. Improving audit standards in PSBs. PSBs are now empowered to decide and pay the remuneration of statutory auditors. This aims to attract skilled auditors, raise audit quality, and ensure greater financial transparency. RBI tightens co-lending norms. News. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, has issued revised guidelines to strengthen the co-lending framework between banks and non-bank financial companies, NBFCs. Co-lending is a financial arrangement where 2 lending institutions, usually a bank and a non-bank financial company, NBFC, come together to provide a loan to a borrower. Both partners share the funds, risks, and sometimes the expertise, allowing them to lend more efficiently and reach a wider range of customers. Key features of co-lending guidelines. Mandatory loan retention. All regulated entities, REs, including banks and NBFCs, involved in co-lending must retain at least 10% of each loan on their balance sheet. Default loss guarantee cap. The loan originating entity may provide a default loss guarantee limited to 5% of the outstanding loan amount. Uniform asset classification. If one lender classifies a borrower as a special mention account, SMA, or non-performing asset, NPA, due to default, the co-lending partner must adopt the same classification for its share of the exposure. Credit information sharing. Both lenders are required to share relevant credit information in near real time and no later than the end of the next working day. Internal policy requirements. Regulated entities must update their credit policies and set internal guidelines covering target borrowers, portfolio limits, fees, partner due diligence, and customer service, including grievance redressal. Small Finance Bank Universal License News. The Reserve Bank of India has granted AU Small Finance Bank a universal banking license, the first in a decade, potentially paving the way for other small finance banks to transition. Eligibility criteria for small finance banks, SFBs, to transition into a universal bank. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, under its ONTAP, licensing guidelines and the framework for voluntary conversion of SFBs into universal banks, has laid down specific conditions for eligibility. Eligibility requirements. Scheduled status. The SFB must have operated with scheduled bank status for at least 5 years. Stock listing. Its shares should be listed on a recognized stock exchange. Net worth. A minimum net worth of 1,000 Indian rupees crore as of the end of the previous quarter. Capital adequacy. Compliance with prescribed capital to risk-weighted assets ratio, CRAR, norms for SFBs, with at least 15% CRAR. Financial performance. Profitability. Net profits in the last 2 financial years. Asset quality. Gross NPA, GNPA, less than or equal to 3% and net NPA, NNPA, less than or equal to 1% for the last 2 financial years. Promoter restrictions. No addition of new promoters or changes to existing promoters during the transition process. Diversification. Preference will be given to SFBs with a diversified loan portfolio. Importance. Transitioning to a universal bank allows SFBs to expand their scope and offer a wider range of financial products and services under one roof, without the restrictions applicable to SFBs. About small finance banks, SFBs. Small finance banks are specialized financial institutions established to promote financial inclusion by providing basic banking services to underserved and in-banked populations. Genesis. Introduced in the Union Budget 2014-15. Key features. Regulatory framework. Operate under the Banking Regulation Act 1949 and other relevant laws. Regulated by the RBI. Basic banking services. Offer savings accounts, current accounts, fixed deposits, FDs, recurring deposits, RDs, and loans. Scheduled bank status. Granted upon meeting RBI eligibility criteria under the RBI Act 1934. Priority sector lending, required to allocate at least 60% of adjusted net bank credit, ENBC, to priority sectors like agriculture and MSMEs. Capital requirement. Minimum paid-up capital of 200 Indian rupees crore. No non-banking subsidiaries. Not permitted to establish subsidiaries for non-banking financial services. Aluminium, copper vision documents. News. Central government recently unveiled aluminium and copper vision documents about vision documents, copper and aluminium. Objective. To provide a comprehensive long-term strategy that addresses rising domestic demand and ensures the security of raw materials. Copper Vision Document. Forecasts a 6-fold rise in demand by 2047. Proposes an addition of 5 million tons per annum, and TPA, in smelting and refining capacity by 2030. Aluminium Vision Document. Targets a 6-fold increase in aluminium output by 2047. Sets a goal of expanding bauxite production to 150 mtpa. Distribution of aluminium, bauxite, and copper. Aluminium/bauxite India. Odisha, 41%. Chhattisgarh, Andhra major reserves in followed by Andhra Pradesh. Odisha also dominates production, accounting for 73% of the country's output. World. China, 58%. Australia leads global aluminium production followed by Brazil and India. Copper India. Reserves. Largest share in Rajasthan, 52.25%, with additional deposits in Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand. Production, 2022 to 23 Madhya Pradesh was the top producer, 57%, followed by Rajasthan, 43%. World. Chile holds the largest copper reserves, 19% of global share, followed by Peru and Australia, each with 10%. Offshore Area Atomic Minerals Concession Rules 2025. News. These rules have been issued in accordance with the provisions of the Offshore Areas Mineral Development and Regulation Act 2002. About Offshore Area Atomic Minerals Concession Rules 2025. The rules are framed to regulate reconnaissance, exploration, and production of atomic minerals such as uranium, thorium, and other strategic radioactive elements within India's territorial waters and exclusive economic zone, (EEZ). The rules are applicable only when the concentration of atomic minerals exceeds a specified minimum threshold. Key provisions. Licensing. Mining rights for atomic minerals can be granted only to government agencies, PSUs, or companies nominated by the government. Foreign companies are prohibited from carrying out exploration activities unless engaged as subcontractors under strict guidelines, and only after obtaining prior security clearance from relevant ministries, including Defense, Home, and Environment. Exploration. Preliminary exploration without a license is permitted exclusively for notified government agencies. Reporting of discoveries. Any discovery of high-grade atomic minerals must be reported to the Directorate of Atomic Minerals Exploration and Research, AMD. Such areas may be reserved for national use, with the center empowered to revoke existing rights. Regulatory oversight. The Department of Atomic Energy and the Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, AERB, will be responsible for radiation safety and enforcement of strategic protocols. Key atomic minerals in India. Uranium major reserves, found in Jharkhand, Andhra Pradesh, Meghalaya, Rajasthan, and other regions. Jadavpura, Jharkhand, was the first mine in India to produce uranium ore on a commercial scale. Other notable mines, Lamberpetagatu, Andhra Pradesh, Baghdata, Jharkhand, among others. Thorium. While uranium resources are limited, India possesses abundant thorium reserves. Monazite ore, containing about 8 to 10% thorium, is the principal source. Rich monazite-bearing beach sands occur along the coasts of Kerala and Odisha. Mines and Minerals, Development and Regulation, Amendment Bill, 2025. News. The Lok Sabha has passed the Mines and Minerals, Development and Regulation, Amendment Bill, 2025. About Mines and Minerals, Development and Regulation, Amendment Bill, 2025. The bill aims to liberalize, modernize, and make India's mineral sector more dynamic, with a particular focus on critical and strategic minerals. It introduces key reforms to the Mines and Minerals, Development and Regulation Act, 1957, MMDR Act, 1957, aligning the legal framework with current economic and technological needs. Key amendments. 1. Inclusion of other minerals in a mining lease. Previously, a mining lease was granted for a specific mineral. The bill allows leaseholders to apply to the state government to include additional minerals in an existing lease. For critical and strategic minerals, e.g., lithium, graphite, nickel, cobalt, gold, silver, no extra payment is required. Minor mineral state. 4, e.g., building stones, gravel, sand, the government decides royalty and other payments. For major minerals in minor mineral leases, conditions will be prescribed by the central government. Atomic minerals above a specified grade cannot be included in leases granted for non-atomic minerals. 2. Removal of sale limit for captive mines. Under the Act, captive mines could sell only up to 50% of annual production after meeting end-use requirements. Removes this limit state governments the bill and empowers to allow the sale of mineral dumps within leased areas. 3. Expanded scope of National Mineral Exploration Trust. The trust can now also fund the development of mines and minerals. It is renamed as National Mineral Exploration and Development Trust. Contribution to the trust increases from 2% to 3% of royalty. 4. Inclusion of contiguous area for deep-seated minerals. The bill allows a one-time extension of mining or composite lease areas for deep-seated minerals. Deep-seated minerals are those occurring at depths greater than 200 m from the surface. 5. Mineral exchanges. The bill provides for an authority to register and regulate mineral exchanges. Defines a mineral exchange as a registered electronic platform for trading minerals and metals. The central government will rules for mineral exchanges. Frame globally important agricultural heritage systems GAIAs. News. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, India currently hosts 3 globally important agricultural heritage systems GAIAs. About globally important agricultural heritage systems GAIAs. These are dynamic, community-managed farming systems that combine agrobiodiversity, traditional knowledge, and cultural heritage to promote sustainable livelihoods and ensure food security. Till date, the FAO has recognized 99 such systems across 29 countries. Recent additions include a mountain agropastoral system in Tajikistan, marking Central Asia's first GAIA site. Other new inclusions are a pine tree agroforestry system and a traditional bamboo fishery system in South Korea, and an agro-silvipastoral system in Portugal. India's globally important agricultural heritage systems GAIAs. Koraput region, Odisha, known for highland subsistence paddy cultivation and a wide variety of indigenous rice strains. The region also conserves medicinal plants linked to tribal knowledge systems. Kuttanad farming system, Kerala, a unique below-sea-level agriculture model that integrates paddy fields, coconut gardens, inland fisheries, and shell collection within a wetland ecosystem. Saffron heritage of Kashmir represents a rich agropastoral system characterized by traditional saffron cultivation, intercropping, and organic farming practices, which help maintain local biodiversity and soil health. U.S. imposes 100% tariffs on pharmaceutical imports. News. The U.S. president has announced a 100% tariff on imports of branded or patented pharmaceutical drugs, effective from October 1st. Unless the companies set up manufacturing facilities within the U.S. India's position in global pharma. India, often termed the pharmacy of the world, is among the largest exporters of pharmaceutical products, holding a 5.71% share of the global market. India is ranked 3rd globally by volume and 11th by value in pharmaceutical production. The pharmaceutical industry is projected to reach $130 billion by 2030 and $450 billion by 2047. Indian exports are primarily drug formulations and biologicals, constituting roughly 75% of total pharmaceutical exports. India also produces 60% of the world's vaccines. Implications of U.S. tariffs on India exports to the U.S. The U.S. is India's largest pharmaceutical market, accounting for about 35% of exports, USD $10 billion in FY25. India's shipments are mostly low-cost generics and APIs, which fall outside the new tariff scope. Potential challenges. Ambiguity in tariff definitions. Some generic drugs carry manufacturer labels, and a broad interpretation of branded pharmaceutical drugs may lead to delays, scrutiny, and higher compliance costs. Pharma manufacturing impact. India has the largest number outside the US. If firms relocate manufacturing to the US, India's domestic production could face setbacks. Possible opportunities. Higher prices for branded drugs in the US could boost demand for generics, benefiting Indian exporters. Export promotion mission. News. The government is planning support measures of around 25,000 Indian rupees crore for exporters under the Export Promotion Mission. About Export Promotion Mission. A flagship initiative Union Budget 2025. The mission is introduced in the 26th. Objective. To foster broad-based, inclusive, and sustainable export growth over 6 years by addressing bottlenecks faced by Indian exporters, particularly MSMEs, using approaches beyond conventional methods. Implementing ministries, jointly driven by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, MSMEs, and Ministry of Finance. Lead Department, Department of Commerce. Focus areas: enhancing export competitiveness, improving access to export credit, enabling cross-border factoring, and assisting MSMEs in tackling non-tariff barriers in international markets. Implementation structure: the mission will be executed through 2 sub-schemes. Niriyat Protsahan, 10,000 Indian rupees plus crore. Interest equalization support of over 5,000 Indian rupees crore for FY 2025 to 31. Support for alternative trade finance instruments. Credit card facilities for e-commerce exporters. Other financing tools to bridge liquidity gaps for exporters. Niriyat Disha, 14,500 Indian rupees plus crore. Support for export quality compliance, Indian rupee 4,000 crore. Overseas market development, 4,000 Indian rupees plus crore. Assistance in branding, export warehousing, logistics, capacity, and building to integrate more Indian enterprises into global value chains. PM SFG 2.0. News. The Union Cabinet has cleared the restructuring and extension of the Prime Minister Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi (PM SFG Nidhi) scheme till March 31, 2030. Targeting 1.15 crore street vendors, including 50 lakh additional beneficiaries. About PM SFG Nidhi scheme launch, 2020, by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, MOHUA. Type: Central Sector Scheme. Objective: to provide working capital loans to street vendors affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, enabling them to restart businesses, while promoting financial inclusion and adoption of digital transactions. SFG Nidhi SE Samriddhi, a convergence component under PM SFG Nidhi to extend social security benefits like pensions, insurance, etc., to street vendors. Performance, as of July 2025. 96 lakh loans, 68 lakh street over worth 13,797 Indian rupees crore dispersed to vendors. Recognition. PM's Award for Excellence in Public Administration, 2023, for innovation. Silver Award for Government Process Reengineering, 2022, for digital transformation. New features: enhanced loan limits. First tranche, 15,000 Indian rupees, earlier 10,000 Indian rupees. Second tranche, 25,000 Indian rupees, earlier 20,000 Indian rupees. Third tranche, 50,000 Indian rupees, unchanged. UPI-linked rupee credit card, available after repayment of second loan, ensuring quick access to emergency credit. Digital incentives, cashback up to 1,600 Indian rupees on UPI retail/wholesale transactions. Capacity building. Financial literacy, digital skills, entrepreneurship, marketing support. Hygiene and safety training for food vendors in partnership with FSSAI. Expanded coverage, beyond statutory towns to census towns. Prime Minister Dhan Krishi Yojana, PM DDKY. News. The Union Cabinet chaired by the Prime Minister has approved the Prime Minister Dhan Krishi Yojana for a period of 6 years, beginning with 2025 to 26 to cover 100 districts. About Prime Minister Dhan Krishi Yojana, PM DDKY, it is a first-of-its-kind scheme, focusing exclusively on agriculture and allied sectors. The scheme was first announced in the Union Budget 2025 to 26. The scheme draws inspiration from Niti Aayog's Aspirational District Program. Convergence. The scheme will be implemented through the convergence of 36 existing schemes across 11 departments, other state schemes, and local partnerships with the private sector. Outlay. Budget documents do not provide a separate allocation for the scheme. Objectives. The scheme has 5 objectives. Enhancing agricultural productivity. Adopting crop diversification and sustainable agriculture practices. Augmenting post-harvest storage at the panchayat and block level. Improving irrigation facilities. Facilitating availability of long-term and short-term credit. Implementation of the scheme. Identification of districts. 100 districts will be identified based on 3 key indicators: low productivity, low cropping intensity, and less credit disbursement. Number of districts. The number of districts in each state/UT will be based on the share of net cropped area and operational holdings. However, a minimum of 1 district will be selected from each state. Planning committees. Committees will be formed at the district, state, and national levels for effective planning, implementation, and monitoring of the scheme. The District Agriculture and Allied Activities Plan will be finalized by the District Dhan Samiti, which will also include progressive farmers as members. The district plans will be aligned with the national goals of crop diversification, conservation of water and soil health, self-sufficiency in agriculture and allied sectors, as well as expansion of natural and organic farming. Monitoring. Progress of the scheme in each Dandhania district will be monitored on 117 key performance indicators through a dashboard on a monthly basis. Pradhan Mantri Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana News. Prime Minister announced the Pradhan Mantri Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana from the historic Red Fort on August 15th. About Pradhan Mantri Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana, a key initiative aimed at supporting the creation of over 3.5 crore jobs in 2 years. Nodal Ministry, Ministry of Labour and Employment. Scheme outlay, 1 Indian rupee lakh crore benefits. Up to 15,000 Indian rupees incentive in 2 installments for newly employed youth. Up to 3,000 Indian rupees per month per new employee for employers to encourage creation of job opportunities. Key features of the scheme Part A, support to first-time employees beneficiaries, first-time employees registered with EPFO. Coverage, expected to benefit around 1.92 crore first-time employees. Eligibility, employees with salaries up to 1 Indian rupee lakh. Benefits, incentive equivalent to 1 month EPF wage, up to 15,000 Indian rupees, disbursed in 2 installments. Working, first installment after 6 months of service. Second installment after 12 months of service, a financial and completion of literacy program. Savings, a portion of the incentive will be deposited in a savings instrument/account for a fixed period to promote the habit of saving and allow withdrawal at a later stage. Part B, incentives for employers' objective, to encourage generation of additional employment across all sectors, with special focus on manufacturing. Beneficiaries, employers hiring new employees with salaries up to 1 Indian rupee lakh. Coverage, expected to incentivize employers for creating additional employment of nearly 2.60 crore persons. Features. 3,000 Indian rupees per month per employee, 2 employers to receive up to 4 years, for each additional job sustained for at least 6 months. In the manufacturing sector, incentives will be extended to the 3rd and 4th years as well. Incentive payment mechanism. Part A, payments to first-time employees will be made through DBT, Direct Benefit Transfer, using the Aadhaar Bridge Payment System, ABPS. Part B, payments to employers will be credited directly into Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, PMGSY. News, the Parliamentary Standing Committee in its report has flagged slow progress of work under PMGSY in left-wing extremism, LWE, affected areas. About Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, PMGSY. Launch, December 2000 type, centrally sponsored scheme, initially 100% central sector, Nodal Ministry, Ministry of Rural Development. Implementing agency, National Rural Infrastructure Development Agency, NRIDA, and state government's objective. The scheme seeks to give all-weather road connectivity to rural habitations that were previously cut off, thereby linking villages with markets, schools, healthcare centers, and jobs. Strengthening the rural economy and reducing poverty by ending isolation. Funding pattern. General states, 60:40 center, state, NE and Himalayan states, 90:10 originally, 2,100% funded by the center population eligibility, census-based. Plains, habitations with greater than or equal to 500 people NE, Himalayan, desert and tribal areas, greater than or equal to 250 people LW affected areas, greater than or equal to 100 people phases of implementation. Phase 1. 2,000 focused on connecting 1.35 lakh habitations, achieved. 3.68 lakh km of rural roads. Phase 2, 2013 aimed at upgrading 50,000 kilometers of roads with shared funding, 75:25 for general states, 90:10 for special states and LWE areas. Phase 3, 2019 to 25 targets consolidation of 1.25 lakh km of road networks, with a focus on connecting gram and agricultural markets, grams, schools and hospitals. Salient features. Decentralized planning. Planning involves PRIs, MLAs and MPs, strong monitoring. AMA's Online Management, Monitoring and Accounting System by CDAC. EMARG Geotagged Photo-Based Monitoring. Mary Sedak app for citizen feedback and grievance redressal. Green technologies, use of fly ash, waste plastic, bamboo, core geotextiles and other eco-friendly materials. Achievements, as of 2025, over 7.5 lakh km of rural roads built or upgraded. 1.8 lakh habitations connected with all-weather roads. Improved access to education, healthcare, markets and employment opportunities, transforming rural lives. Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, PMSY. News, PMSY marks 5 years since its launch. About Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, PMSY. Launched on September 10, 2020 by the Department of Fisheries, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. Duration, initially 2020 to 21 to 2024 to 25, now extended to 2025 to 26. Objective, promote sustainable and inclusive growth in fisheries by boosting production, incomes, employment, exports, and ensuring fisheries security with strong management. Implementation. National Fisheries Development Board, NFDB, is the nodal agency for training, awareness, and capacity building. Umbrella schemes centrally sector and PMSY functions, as in with centrally sponsored components. Key achievements. India is now the second largest fish producer globally, contributing nearly 8% of world fish production. Created 58 lakh livelihoods, 99,018. The scheme has and empowered women. National Initiative on Water Security News. The Government of India has launched the National Initiative on Water Security to make water conservation and groundwater management a national priority. NREGA Amendment for Water Security. The Schedule 1 of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, NREGA, 2005, has been amended to include water security as a core national objective. The amendment was made by the central government under the powers conferred by Section 29(1) of MNREGA. Objectives of the initiative enhance groundwater recharge and availability. Rejuvenate rivers and water bodies. Promote long-term, sustainable water management. Fund allocation for water conservation under MNREGA. Overexploited or dark zone blocks. 65% of MNREGA in at least funds water-related activities rainwater must be dedicated to such as harvesting and groundwater recharge. Semi-critical blocks. 40% of funds for a minimum of should be utilized for water conservation works. All other blocks. 30% of funds in a minimum of must be earmarked for water conservation and management initiatives. Groundwater assessment and classification. The Central Groundwater Board, CGWB, has categorized assessment blocks across the country using data from the Dynamic Groundwater Resources Assessment Report, 2024. As per the report, the distribution of blocks is as follows. Critical, 3.05% semi-critical, 10.54% overexploited, 11.13% safe, 73.39% saline, 1.88%. Types of water conservation works cover construction of check dams, farm ponds, community tanks, and percolation tanks, desilting and renovation of traditional water bodies, development of groundwater recharge pits and soak wells, irrigation channels, watershed management structures, building and afforestation and plantation water undertaking activities to improve retention capacity. Pulses production. NITI Aayog's plan FWARA CLFSUFFICINCY News. NITI Aayog has released a plan to increase India's pulses production, targeting self-reliance and lower import dependence by 2047. Current status of pulse production in India. India leads the world in pulses production, 25% of global output, consumption, 27% of global demand, and imports, 14%. Nutritional significance. Pulses are an affordable source of plant-based protein, crucial for combating malnutrition. Agroclimatic zones. 12 pulse crops. India's diverse allow cultivation of across Kharif, Rabi, and summer seasons. Major producing states Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Rajasthan account for over 55% of production, while the top 10 states contribute more than 91% of national output. 2015 to 16, 16.35 million tons, MT, 6 in production fell to necessitating MT of imports. Policy measures, including the National Food Security Mission, NFSM, and Minimum Support Price, MSP, significantly improved output. By 2022 to 23, production rose by nearly 59.4% to 26.06 metric tons, with productivity increasing by 38% and import dependence dropping from 29% to 10.4%. Challenges. About 80% of pulses are rain-fed, making production vulnerable to climatic fluctuations. The sector sustains the livelihoods of over 5 crore farmers and their families, underscoring the need for stable policy support. NITI Aayog's recommendations. Area retention and diversification. Promote region-specific crop clusters to optimize yields. Technology adoption. Encourage customized farming technologies suited to different agroecological zones. Seed quality and distribution. Focus on high-quality seeds and treatment kits, particularly in 111 high-potential districts contributing 75% of national output. Cluster-based hubs. Implement one block, one seed village model through farmer-producer organizations, FPOs, to enhance local productivity. Mission for Atmanirbharta in Pulses, a 6-year initiative targeting key crops like pigeon pea, black gram, and lentil to strengthen self-reliance. Future projections. 30.59 metric tons by 2030, 45.79 India's pulse production is expected to reach and MT by 2047. Food security reduced, supporting long-term goals of and import dependence. Coffee Board of India. News. The Coffee Board of India is running awareness and training programs to encourage farmers to register on its mobile app. This is needed to meet the EU Deforestation Regulation (UDR), which requires proof that coffee has not caused deforestation after December 2020. About Coffee Board of India. It is a statutory board established under the Coffee Act, 1942. Its aim is to promote sale and consumption of coffee in India and abroad. It functions under the administrative control of the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The board is headquartered in Bangalore. About coffee production in India. Historical origin. 1600 AD, Baba Budan. Coffee cultivation in India dates back to when a saint planted 7 mocha coffee seeds in Baba Budangiri Hills, Karnataka. Commercial plantations began in the 18th century under British efforts. Present status. India became the world's 7th largest coffee producer in the FY24, fiscal year 2023 to 24. Brazil leads global coffee production, contributing about 40% of world supply. Major varieties: Arabica mild, aromatic flavor, fetches higher price in international markets. Robusta, strong flavor, widely used in coffee blends, accounts for 72% of India's coffee production. India is the 5th largest Robusta producer globally. Leading coffee producing states: Karnataka, largest producer; Kerala, 2nd; Tamil Nadu, 3rd. Climate requirements: temperature, 15 to 28 degrees Celsius. Rainfall, 150 to 250 centimeters annually. Soil. Well-drained loamy soil. Relief. Hill slopes are most suitable. Requires a warm and wet climate. Blue Ports Framework. News. The Department of Fisheries, with FAO, launched a technical cooperation program and held a webinar to promote India's Blue Ports Framework. About Blue Ports Framework. It is a Department of Fisheries-led initiative to develop smart and integrated fishing harbors combining technological innovation with environmental sustainability. It ensures safer, cleaner, and more efficient post-harvest operations. Objective. Strengthen technical capacities of fishing ports for ecological sustainability, economic viability, and social inclusion. Enhance traceability, climate resilience, service delivery, and stakeholder empowerment across the aquatic value chain. Key features. Pilot harbors. Vinagpura, Dio, Karaikal, Puducherry, Jakau, Gujarat. Technologies. IoT devices, sensor networks, satellite communication, 5G, AI, automation, real-time data analytics, and digital platforms for decision-making. Flagship support, backed by Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, PMSY, and Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund, FIDF. To the point terms/initiatives in news. Skill Impact Bond, SIB. Context. Women are leading the way in India's first outcome-based Skill Impact Bond, SIB, initiative. About Skill Impact Bond, SIB, launched 2021 by Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, MSD, through National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC. Nature. India's first outcome-based skilling initiative. Consortium partners, British Asian Trust, CFF, JSW Foundation, HSBC India, Dubai Cares. Aim. Train 50,000 youth, ensure 150 plus retained in jobs for at least 3 months. Focus. Inclusion of women and marginalized communities in economic opportunities. Unique feature. Outcome-based financing model, funding linked to job placement and retention, not enrollment/certification. Incentivizes training providers to support candidates with onboarding, counseling, and alumni engagement. Stable coins. Context. The Bank of England has proposed restrictions on stablecoin ownership in the UK due to associated financial and regulatory risks. About stablecoins, a type of cryptocurrency whose value is pegged to a stable asset like a fiat currency, e.g., USD, or gold to minimize volatility. Types. Fiat collateralized, backed by reserves of fiat currency. Crypto collateralized, backed by other cryptocurrencies. Algorithmic, non-collateralized, maintain value using algorithms and smart contracts. Key advantages: price stability compared to other cryptocurrencies. Low cost and fast cross-border transactions. Facilitate digital payments and DeFi, decentralized finance, operations. Saksham context. The Investor Education and Protection Fund Kniveshack Authority, IEPFA, has started a 100-day campaign called Saksham Kniveshack. About Saksham Kniveshack objective. To empower shareholders by creating awareness about unclaimed dividends held by companies and guide them in updating KYC and nomination details to reclaim these dividends. The campaign urges companies to proactively contact shareholders, helping them recover unclaimed dividends and resume regular dividend receipts by updating essential records. Jal Sunshine Jan Bajadari, JSJB. Initiative context. Karnataka's Bidar district has been awarded the Jal Sunshine Jan Bajadari Award under the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, Catch the Rain campaign. About Jal Sunshine Jan Bajadari, JSJB. Initiative Genesis. Launched in 2024, the initiative focuses on water conservation with a strong emphasis on community participation and ownership. Nodal Ministry, Ministry of Jal Shakti. Objective: JSJB aims to improve water recharge through methods such as rainwater harvesting, aquifer recharge, borewell recharge, and recharge shafts. The program receives support from both government and non-government sources, including CSR funds, industrial houses, civic bodies, and water sector enthusiasts. LIVES and context. At the Star Rating Awards ceremony for coal, ARTHA, and lignite mines, the initiatives LIVES and ARTHA were introduced. About LIVES and ARTHA. LIVES is a comprehensive practitioner's guide formulated to serve as a benchmark for responsible and sustainable mine closures in alignment with global best practices. ARTHA is a green financing framework aimed at channeling investments towards transforming reclaimed mines into productive and environmentally friendly assets. Reclaim. Context. Coal Ministry recently launched Reclaim Framework. About Reclaim Framework developed by the Coal Controller Organization in partnership with Heartfulness Institute. Purpose: community engagement and development framework for mine closures. Features: guides community participation during mine closure, provides practical India-specific tools, ensures inclusion of women and vulnerable groups, supports local governance, and promotes ecological and socioeconomic well-being.